Todd has come to.
Kept you waiting, huh?
Todd, we have reason to believe that anti-bread forces are constructing a superweapon at a secret facility in the area. We shall give you the coordinates once you land.
I've been expecting you. I am the most powerful practitioner of psychokinesis and telepathy in the world. Allow me to demonstrate by reading your mind. I see you've been playing Doom recently. Prepare to meet your end, Todd Bigarg. I knew I shouldn't have stood on that desk. Just go. Get out of here. I'm sure someone else later on will defeat you. Just leave me here. I'll be fine. Oh, my side.
Todd, we're seeing signs of anti-bread soldiers near you.
Anti-bread soldiers?
Yes, Todd. There are people in the world that hate bread so much that they'll stop at nothing to destroy you and all that you stand for. Be on your guard. I'd recommend using some sort of disguise to sneak through.
Sans?
Todd, do you read me? Todd!
Colonel, I'm trying to snoop around, but the clap of the bread loaves in my back pocket keeps alerting the guards.
Hold on, Todd. We're sending in support now. We can't have you throwing your bread away just to sneak by.
Legend, yeah. With a success by popularity, legend. Also the great number 7. I got some new boss. I got my engine. Oh wait, I need to mention I can get people to pay attention. I got a and that was right. I came to play. Only 8 7 people making more money than your sister at a gas station. I'm very smart thing. I don't know what else to do.
Lil Yeety!
Why are we still here?
I got so many bars that my name should be lost. I got fire in my tip. Me up to my cup, help my sister at her engine. Oh wait, I need to mention I can get people to pay attention. I got a big convention, and I live as a legend. I came from the heavens, only 8 7. I was making more money than your sister at a gas station. I'm very smart, eh? I don't eat Pop Tarts, eh? Cause the old fashioned, eh? Eat the new stuff, take it off the chart.
Reggie!
My body is ready.
I don't want to have to fight you, Reggie, but if it's for bread, I can do anything.
My god, it's a weapon to surpass Metal Gear. Watch out, Todd!
Kirby!
Todd, the whole base is on a self-destruct sequence. Get out of there now! So, it seems that Kirby is the one behind all of this. What is he trying to achieve? Why would he do something like this?
I don't know, Colonel. I won't believe that Kirby is evil. He must have a plan we're not seeing here.
Either way, Todd, we're deploying you to where Kirby was last sighted. Toddspeed.
Kirby! Why are you doing this? So you were only trying to save the world? But Kirby, you'll be seen as a war criminal everywhere! Kirby! I see. Sorry it has to be this way. Thank you for everything, Kirby.
Hi!